Hey, everybody, it's Tommy Canale, and welcome back to Before the Lights podcast, the show that tells you how they made their mark. He's a proprietor and the owner of Dom DeMarcos Pizzeria and Bar, which is a Best of Las Vegas Gold winner for Best Pizza, Best Outdoor Dining, and Best Wings Tenders. Let's welcome into the show, Albert Scalleat. Albert, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, my friend.
We are going to have some fun. We are recording here at Dom DeMarco's. He has a fantastic outdoor patio that we are recording on. If you haven't been here, if you're in the Las Vegas area, you need to come by to Dom DeMarco's Pizza, 9785 West Charleston. And if you're visiting from outside of Las Vegas and you come and you're at Red Rock Casino, less than a mile down the road, Dom DeMarco's Pizza. But let's get back to Albert here. You've been a pizza fanatic your whole life?
Oh, since I was a little kid, I remember Fridays. I'm a Catholic. On Fridays, I was born in 44. So at that time, it was a mortal sin to eat meat on Friday. So every Friday, we ate pizza. And I had a favorite pizzeria there in Hazleton. The guy's name was Bamber Palumbo. And at that time, you used to be able to get a whole pizza and a quart of soda for 75 cents. Well, we used to go there every Friday night or have them deliver it to the house. So I've been a pizza fan all my life.
First pizza place was in Fresno, California in 1966.
Yes.
How'd you end up in Fresno? From Hazleton, Pennsylvania.
Hazleton, Pennsylvania. That's where Bamber Palumbo's Pizzeria was. It was in the alley on 7th Street. But anyway, how did I end up in Fresno? Well, I graduated from Scranton University in 66. And I went to Fresno State College for my master's degree. And it's an interesting story because, while I was there happened to be a pizzeria right across the street from the campus. So I went in there one day. I was the only customer. And I got talking to the guy, and he was from New York. And he was kind of down in the dumps because his wife had went back to New York. She didn't like California at all. She missed her parents. She missed the seasons. She had a million reasons she didn't like it. And she gave him an ultimatum, sell the pizza place. So I get talking to him and tell him that I love pizza, this, that, and the other. He says to me, he says, I would sell this place just for what I have in it. He said about $85,000. Well, I didn't have 85 cents, so I said, hey, good for you, hope you get lucky. A couple of months later, I'm going back in there 2-3 times a week, and sometimes there's a few customers, but I could see he's dying on the vine. His pizza wasn't that bad. So he says to me, man, he said, my wife, if I don't get this place sold in 2 months, she's going to divorce me. He said, if I could get $35,000, well, that was like 85, didn't have that either. A couple of weeks go by more, and I go in there and he's sweating, he's down in the dumps, he's depressed. He said, I don't know what to do. He said, if I could get somebody to take over the lease. I said, take over the lease. I said, how much is the lease and how long is it for? So we ended up working a deal, and that's how I opened my first pizzeria. But I had worked at my aunt, Sue Bellatier in Allentown, Pennsylvania. She had a restaurant called Gino's since 1957, and I worked there for a long time. And I knew how to make pizza, but I had Bamber's recipe, and I loved his recipe. So that's how I got into pizza business.
Your favorite place was Lorenzo's Tomato Pies in Trenton, New Jersey in 1970. What was it about their pizza that you love so much?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's still one of my favorite pizzerias. And the pizza is outstanding. If anybody from that area, I'm sure they know it. At that time, a friend of mine, Lou Gaida, he lived in Yardley. And he was married to a very close friend of mine from Hazleton. So I got friendly with him, and he said, I got to take you to this pizzeria in Trenton. It was right across the street from Trenton State Prison. So, and what's funny about it is, I don't know how they got away with this, but they had no restroom. And
in the pizza place?
Yeah, it had no restroom, and it was the place was so busy, it had a line around the block. I mean, you would go there in February, it was freezing, it was snowing. There was a line around the block, and you go in there, the place is packed. And what I noticed, what I thought was really funny, they opened at 4, and when they opened at 4, they took the phone off the hook. They had you couldn't call up after 4 to order. But the pizza was so good. It was a thin crust with a sausage that they made on premise, and it was my favorite pizza for a long time. In fact, in 1988, or maybe it was 87. My daughter was at the University of Nebraska, and she called up. She said, Dad, I'm coming home for Christmas, and I'm bringing my boyfriend with me. So I picked him up at the airport, and she said, Dad, she said, could you take us for pizza? So naturally, I went to Lorenzo's Tomato Pie. And my son-in-law, who's my son-in-law now, was just her boyfriend, and the nicest guy in the world, Jeff Lepore, and he's an excellent cook, by the way. So he fell in love with this pizza also. Now he got in real estate. He traveled all over the world, and wherever he would go, he would call me up. I'm at such and such a famous place, but can't compare to Lorenzo's, right? So I guess it was around 2005. He had bought some land over here on Town Center in 215. He was building a hotel, and he was looking around for a franchise. And he was with a company in White Plains, New York. So they got talking about pizza, and they says to him, he said about Lorenzo's Tomato Pie. He said, I traveled all over the world. That's the best pie. And these guys said, well, we got a place in Trenton called the Fara Pizza. It's owned by a guy named Dom DeMarco. That's our favorite. Yeah, when we're done with this meeting, we'll take it if you want to go. So he goes. And
hey, real quick, Albert, let me bring the listeners up on that. So people who may not heard of Di Fara Pizza, it is the #1 pizzeria in New York and the best Italian restaurant by Zagat, among many others. This pizza place that you're talking about that we're now sitting here at Dom DeMarco's.
Absolutely. It absolutely was. I didn't know that at the time. I mean, to tell you the truth. Never had heard of Dom DeMarco or Di Fara. So we go there, and I fell in love with this pizza, right? So I said to the gal behind the counter, it's a real small place on the corner of Avenue J and East 15th Street. They only had 6 tables and a line around them. When I say a line around the block, I mean a big, those blocks in Brooklyn are pretty big. Anyway, by the time we got in, I tasted the pizza. Man, it's great pizza. So I says to the girl behind the counter, her name is Margaret. They call her Maggie. I know her real well now, but I didn't know her at that time. I said, I'm a retired pizza guy. I'm living in Las Vegas. I'd love to bring this pizza to Las Vegas. And real snotty, she said to me, my father gets offers from the suits on Wall Street all day long, and we're not interested in doing business with anybody. And she turns around, walks away. Oh, my God. I go back to the table. I said to my son-in-law, Jeff, I said, hey, this ain't going to be easy, buddy.
Easy. It took you 5 years, and you made 15 trips alone in 2007.
Yes. And every time I went back, it was the cold shoulder, And then finally, after about 2 years, we go in, and she says to me, oh, you again? I said, yep. She said, I'm going to turn you over to my brother, Dominic. He calls the shots around here. So I got real happy for a couple seconds, and Dominic and his father, Dom Sr., they had their backs to us. They were making pizza there. So she said, hey, Dominic, this is Albert from Las Vegas. And I reached my hand over the counter, and he turned around and he looked at me, he shook his head and turned his head back. And I said to her, for a couple seconds, I was really, really happy. I said, but you turned me from the frying pan to the fire. He's worse than you. So, and then another 2 years went by, and Jeff opened a hotel, the Element Hotel here on Town Center in 215. And I had a card with my name on, and we went back to White Plains, and then we went back to the Fara. And I says, we walked in the door, I said to Jeff, I have a different approach today. So when I walked in, I said, hey, Dominic, how are you? He turned around, he looked at me. I said, come here a minute. I pulled out the card. I said, listen, we just opened this beautiful hotel in Las Vegas. I said, it's not a casino, but it's a beautiful hotel. And I want to invite you, your whole family to come on, stay. As long as you want, you be my guest, no charge. He looked at the card and he said to me, why would I want to go to Las Vegas? I got everything I want right here on my block. I don't even own a car. Everything's on my block. Why would I go out there? I took a look at him, and to tell you the truth, I wanted to punch him right in the face. And I went back. I said, let's get out of here. I said, I can't take it anymore. So we left. We didn't even eat. We left. 2 weeks later, astoundingly, I get a phone call from my best friend, Dominic, in Brooklyn. Hey, Al, how are you, buddy? I said, who's this? Dominic. Yeah, I said, how you doing? Hey, he said, I went home. I showed that card to my wife. I didn't know. She looks at all these shows about Las Vegas, and now she wants to go to Vegas. He said, does that offer still stand? I said, yeah. I said, it stands, but I want you to bring your father, your mother, bring whoever you want. He said, well, me and my wife will definitely come. He said, but my father, he came here from Caserta, Italy in 57, and he's left Brooklyn 13 times, but every time was to fly back to Caserta. And he said, and one time he says to me, take me to Atlantic City. We got in the car. We got on the New Jersey Turnpike. Pike, he looked around and he said to me, I've seen enough of taking me back to Brooklyn. He said, so me and my wife, that's it. I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you first class tickets. You stay as long as you want. He said, well, we only want to stay a week. So he comes out. Now, when I get to the airport to pick him up, I told him to go to the carousel. I'll meet you there where your bags are. And I met his wife, a lovely little girl, a nice girl, beautiful girl. But neither one of them had ever flown. So her girlfriend gave her these pills that she wouldn't get sick. But anyway, she threw up all the way on the way out here. And she was as white as a ghost. And Dominic says to me, Al, do me a favor. Get us to the room as quick as possible. My wife's really sick. So now my son-in-law had a beautiful house and a beautiful backyard with a whole kitchen and a big pizza oven. So every day we're out there, me and Jeff and Dominic were making pizza and they like to drink wine. I'm not much of a drinker myself, but anyway, we had a great time. Took him to all the fancy restaurants, and he loved Las Vegas, and his wife loved it. And he said to me at the end of the trip, the last day, he said, look, I got to tell you, he says, why we never did this with anybody. He said, we got a lot of offers, but everything we buy, all our ingredients are imported from Italy. And my father said that nobody would ever do this, and it would ruin our reputation. He said, but I could see that you guys are serious and you'll do it. He said, so I'll go home and I'll talk to him. So he leaves, and at that time, the Fara in Brooklyn, they had different hours. They were closed on Monday and Tuesday completely. And then Wednesday to Sunday, they opened from noon to 4. Then they closed from 4 to 6 because Dominic Sr., he thought he was still in Italy, he had to take a siesta. And then they reopened from 6 to 9. So Dominic says to us, listen, come on a Sunday night, have dinner at the restaurant. He said, and then Monday morning, me and my father, the place will be closed, we'll meet you in a restaurant. This way he could talk, because when we're in a restaurant and we're so busy, we don't have time to talk to anybody. So we go Sunday night and we talk. We ate there, and Monday morning, 9 o'clock, we go. Now the place is buttoned down as tight as could be with steel doors and locks and everything else. So I bang on the door, and Dominic looks in, and there he is, him and his dad in there. We go in, and they're sitting at the table. Now this is 9 o'clock in the morning. They're sitting at the table, and they have a bottle of very expensive Amarone, and they have these huge glasses filled half with ice, half with Coca-Cola, and the other half they fill it with this expensive Amarone. I never saw anything like it, right? So now they pour one for me and one for my son-in-law. So now I don't want to make them scumberish, and in Italian, scumberish, embarrassed. I don't want to embarrass the old man, right? So now here I am, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm drinking wine, and I feel my face getting red, and I start sweating. So anyway, the old man says, he spoke not very good English. And he said, "Queste paese," and I knew what he meant. He said, where in Italy are your people from? And I said, Fria di Cendera, provincia di Salerno. And I used to see that on them red, white, and blue email or airmail letters that used to go back to Italy every week, And he started laughing, and I said to him, how come you're laughing? Hey, he says, I was in the Italian army, a 2-year over there, and a good people there, good people. So after a little bit more wine and everything, we made a deal, we shook hands, and that was the end of it. So that was in 2009. So now I come out here, and we find this location where we're at now, and we signed a lease on a location in January of 2011. And then we start, we gutted the whole place, we built our place. But when we start making the dough, now I gotta say, before that, after we made the deal, almost every weekend, Jeff and I would fly back to Brooklyn, and we'd spend Monday and Tuesday with Dominic, Senior and Junior, learning how to make the dough, how to make the sauce, his seasoning, his recipes, and all that. So,
and you are importing the Italian ingredients.
Well, I didn't get to that part yet, but here's what happened. a couple things happened when we got here that was kind of earth shaking for a little bit. The first thing was when I start looking around for the ingredients. I couldn't get it, hardly anything. We couldn't get the right cheese. We couldn't get the right sauce. So I found out that after a few months of searching, I had to get the cheese and the sauce. It flew into their boat. Maybe it was a boat, I'm not sure, into Miami. And then from Miami, it went to Chicago. From Chicago to Arizona, from Arizona here. So that took a few months to get straightened out. But then when we finally got the equipment in, and we start making the dough wasn't rising right with Dominic's recipe. So I called him up. I said, hey, Dom, I said, I'm having a problem. I said, I'm doing the same thing we did with you, and the dough's not rising right. He said, if somebody would tell me the water over there no good. I said, Dominic, I said, send me 12 bottles of water. So he did. And I get 12 bottles of water here, and I go to this water expert. Cost me a lot of money. And anyway, he gives me a printout. And when you compare it to the printout of the water in Brooklyn, who knew that Brooklyn had the best water? I never knew that. It goes down through the mountains, through the rocks. I guess it gets all the impurities
out. In Brooklyn, New York?
In Brooklyn, the best water in the country.
Never would have known that.
And see, some guys, they purify the water. They do that, what do you call that, when they reverse osmosis?
Like a filtration system?
Yeah, but it's reverse osmosis. It's not the right thing to do because beside all the crap it takes out, it also takes out the minerals. So you need the minerals. So it took us a while. Enzo DeUlis, my dear friend, I hired him as my chef that time. What had happened was Enzo was working at a pizzeria on Durango called Chow Chow. And the guy closed it up. He went in one night. They were doing a knocked up business, but he closed it up. Went in one night, never told anybody. Tonight, he went in, I'm closing the joint. So everybody was out of the job, but it just happened just right because I hired Enzo and his whole crew to come here. So Enzo, very, very smart guy. We start going through different filters. We ended up with 5 different filters. Now, the water didn't come out exactly, but it was 90% as close as you're going to get from Brooklyn. But now in the Fara pizza that I have in Caesar's Palace, we import the water from New York by pallets every week. But the pizza's the same here as it is down there. Anyway, it was rough to get started, but finally we ironed out all the wrinkles, and we thought we were going to open in June. We opened December 1st of 2011. And we were packed from the minute we opened. And then 5 or 6 weeks later, a stroke of luck. The place is packed. It's like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. I can't remember, but it was in January, and it was an ugly night. It was raining, it was foggy, it was ugly cold. But the place was packed, and I'm standing at the bar, and a hostess comes up. She said, there's a guy on a phone.
Oh, hang on to that story. I want to get to that.
Oh, okay.
But before we go to that story, I want to make the listeners hungry. Okay. Because we want them to come here, right, Albert? We got to come here. The menu is full of authentic Italian options made from scratch, 100% fresh ingredients, family recipes. The pizza is to die for. I'm not just saying it. It is very good. You want a Sicilian pizza? He's got it. You want a Neapolitan? He's got it. The Fara special is a square red pie with hand-cut pepperoni, aged mozzarella, Parmesan, basil, and extra virgin olive oil. The pasta is unbelievable. You got a rigatoni with vodka sauce, lasagna, and you got to have meatballs. And you also have chicken parm.
Yeah, the meatballs are my mother's recipe.
That's your mother's recipe.
All the pizza recipes are Dom DeMarcos. All the Italian food recipes, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, that's where they came from. And that's what I grew up with.
Got a full service bar, TVs, and wine. And we talked about wine. I mean, people, you cannot find a better wine deal than you can at Dom DeMarco's. Albert's got the best wine prices. And speaking of happy hour, you sell at 50% off bottles?
Yes, happy hour. Happy hour is 2 to 6. We have a lot of specials. But from 2 to 4, we call it the happiest of hours. And what we do from 2 to 4, why it's the happiest of hours, because every pizza on the menu is half price, 50% off, no matter what pizza you order. Every bottle of wine except for the wines on my premium lift, which are so cheap that if I sell them at 50% off, I'd be losing a lot of money. So it's 50% off. And then naturally, you got wines by the glass from 2 to 6, 50% off. We always have, all beers are $5 from 2 to 6, except for the one beer that's $4, and every month it changes. So if you're into happy hour, or if you're into good food, good Italian food, you got to come to Dom DeMarcos. We got great food. We won every prize that there is for food, and our prices on the wines are unbeatable. And the food is great. The service is great. We got to talk about the patio. I got to tell everybody, if you haven't been here in a while or haven't been here ever, we completely redid it. It's usable now 365 days a year. In the wintertime, it's covered and heated. It's pleasant. We're sitting here right now. It's pleasant, very pleasant. In the summertime, it's open and air conditioned, and it's great. But I have a special deal going for Super Bowl. It's a one-party deal on the patio. You could have the patio seats 50 people comfortably, so you can have up to 50 people. And at one price, the price includes taxes and gratuities. So it's one deal. The price is $5,000. No, don't fall off your chair when you hear that. Let me explain it. Now, for $5,000, you could bring 50 people. They could eat all they want. They could drink all they want. It's from an hour before game time to the final whistle. And if you've had parties at your house and you don't want the mess, you just come here. And this is good for business people who have a lot of people that work there and they want to treat them nice and throw them a party for Super Bowl. We'll have 2 huge screens out here. And it's a hell of a deal. If you get 50 people, it's $100 a person. It will be, but we'll hope that the business would pay for it. And like I said, that's tax and gratuity included. All you could eat, all you could drink.
And if they ask real nice, you might even make an appearance.
Definitely.
We're going to talk about this phone call that I'm going to let him go with it. But before that, some celebrities every once in a while walk in. I mean, if you get lucky, you might run into Nicolas Cage. You might run into some other people that frequent this restaurant. But Albert, you were talking about this busy Tuesday night on a terrible weather night. The phone rings and go from there.
So the girl comes up to me, the hostess, and she said, there's a guy on the phone that wants a delivery. I said, well, we don't deliver. Did you tell him that? She said, yeah. She said, but he insists he speaks to the owner. So I go over. I said, hey, how you doing? Could I help you with? The guy said, he said, we're over here at the Element Hotel. He said, we'd like to put an order in. And I said to him, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, sir. I said, we don't deliver. I said, but you could come and pick it up. And he said something to me that nobody ever said to me before. He said, it would behoove you to take this order and deliver it. And I kind of scratched my head and I said to him, why would it behoove me? I was really inquisitive. He said, I can't tell you who it's for, but it's a VIP, and it would be very, very good for yourself and your business. It would be very helpful if you made this delivery. So now I said, it's probably some actor or something. He wants me to deliver a sandwich. I'm not going to do that. I said, well, what exactly do you want? And here's why I delivered. He said, we want 6 rounds, 6 squares, and 20 cannolis. Well, those 3 years I spent going back and forth to the Fara pizza, when the people went in there, that's the way they ordered their pizza. Give me a round, give me a square. Oh, I said, don't tell me this guy's a friend of Dominic's. Now he's going to go back and tell him I wouldn't deliver. I said, all right, listen. I said, buddy, I'll deliver it. I said, but here's the problem. I said, it was 20 to 7. I looked at the clock. I said, we're slammed in here. I don't know what time I'm going to be able to deliver it. And he said, but you will be able to deliver it. I said, yeah, I'll deliver it. So he gave me the order. They wanted the 6 rounds, 6 squares. They wanted some toppings and the 20 cannolis. So I hung up the phone and I got a hold of Enzo, the chef. I said, Enzo, I got this delivery. Whenever you could get it ready, let me know. Well, at 10 minutes to 9, Enzo comes out and he says, I got that delivery order ready for you. I said, all right. I said, give it to one of them guys in the back. Tell them to put it in their trunk. Bring it over there. He says, okay. He comes back 2 minutes later. Al, he said, everybody's so busy. I can't spare anybody. Why don't you take it? I said, all right. I said, put it in my trunk. So he puts it in my trunk. I drive over by the hotel. And there's a circle, a big circle of Nevada Highway Patrol cars all around the hotel. And I see all these helicopters flying around the hotel. So I pull up to one of these cops there, and I said, hey, pal, I said, somebody in there ordered a pizza delivery. I said, how do I get in there? He said, well, you can't come this way. He said, go around the town center and come in the main entrance. Okay, I said, so I go around town center, and there was a cop there, and as soon as he saw me, waved me by, put the window down. He said, you're a pizza guy? I said, yeah. He said, I got a spot for you in the front of the Cancer Institute. At that time, the Cancer Institute was next door. So I go there, and there's this one, the place is packed. There's this one spot in front of the Cancer Institute. I pull right in. And when I pull in, I happen to look up, and on top of the Cancer Institute, there's all these guys in fatigues walking around with big, long rifles, right? And I see all these helicopters flying around. Now I look to the left, and I see three big guys with black suits and earphones walking towards my car. So I put the window down, and I said, hey, guys, what's going on over here? The guy said, don't you know? I said, nah, what's up? He said, well, the president's in there, and he's waiting for his pizza. I said, the president? He said, yeah. I said, well, the pizzas are in the trunk. The guy said, well, pop the trunk. So I popped the trunk. They grab the pizzas. They start walking. And I said, hey, guys, hold up a minute, will you? The guy said, why? I says, I got 20 cannolis in the back seat. I didn't want to break the cannolis. I wanted to be careful with them. So I says, okay. So we start walking. When we get in the hotel, there's all 2 conveyor belts. And they said, put everything on these conveyor belts. So we did. And then we went back in the office, and there was all these Secret Service guys in there. But in the lobby is all these guys with fatigues, what look like machine guns to me. So we go in the office, and they call somebody on the phone, the pizza's here. Guy comes down and starts opening up all the boxes. He's got a flashlight and a fork, and he's looking at the pizzas, he's looking at the cannolis. So he leaves half of the pizzas for the Secret Service guys and half the cannolis, and the rest he's going to take upstairs to the president. So he says to me, he says, I'll be right back. So I says, okay. He didn't come back for like over an hour. But in the meantime, I'm chit-chatting with these Secret Service guys. It was very interesting. And then he comes back, and I said to myself, when he comes back, I'm going to say to him, hey, could I come up there and get a picture with the president? And if he says, yeah, I'm not going to charge him. So I said that to him when he came down. I said, hey, could I come up there and get a picture? He threw his hands up in the air. Oh, geez, he said, I'm sorry, I can't. He's really busy. I said, okay, here's the bill. $403, right? So he gives me 5 $100 bills. I says, and he says, keep the change. And I said, how come you guys ordered from me? And he said, because of me. I said, what do you mean because of you? He said, well, I'm the president's traveling chef. He said, but I've been going to that place in Brooklyn for over 20 years. And on the flight out here, I said to him, he's used the word commander. He said, I told the commander, no Chicago pizza tonight. Tonight it's Brooklyn pizza. I said, well, thank you very much. So now I leave. And on the way over, I call my wife. And I said to her, hey, honey, I said, you're not going to believe who I delivered pizza to tonight. I said, and it's somebody really important, so go hi. Well, first she says to me, what do you mean delivered pizza? I thought you told me you don't deliver. I said, well, I don't deliver, but I made an exception. It was a big shot, very important, very high. She didn't wait a second. She said, George Clooney. I says to her, it's a politician, go real high. So she waited a couple seconds. She said, well, you're not going to tell me you delivered pizza to the vice president. I said, no, I'm not going to tell you that, honey, but go a little higher. And she screams in the phone, you're not going to tell me you delivered pizza to Obama. I said, yeah, I just did. So
President Obama.
Yeah, President Obama. So now you get back here, everybody's gone. So I can't even tell anybody, right? So now I go home, get up. I came in that morning. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning. Turn the lights on. I see some water laying over by the soda machine. I go over to get the mop to clean it up, and my cell phone rings. Here it's my cousin Gino from Allentown, and he says to me, hey, cuz, congratulations. I said, cuz, I told you a million times, don't call my house 6 o'clock in the morning. It'll wake my wife up. Oh, I didn't call your house. I said, what are you congratulating me for? He said, well, you delivered pizza to Obama, right? I said, yeah, but how did you know? He said, I just heard it on Rush Limbaugh. So for the next month or two, I mean, I still get once a week get people ask me, tell me the Obama story. But for the next month or two, every TV station, radio station, newspaper people, they were here and interviews. It was a fantastic. I couldn't have spent $1 million and got that kind of publicity, I don't think.
No, you never could. But where you are going to do publicities, we're going to break some news here to everybody. You're going to hear it first here on Before the Lights. We're sitting here with Albert Scalleat, who is the proprietor of Dom DeMarco's, but he's going to start his own podcast coming up on Wednesdays. It'll be the first Wednesday of every month starting in February. Look for it. I don't know if it's going to be the Dom DeMarco show or if we're going to call it something else, but you're going to have your own show.
It's going to be called Slice and Sip.
Slice and Sip.
Slice of pizza, sip of wine, or sip of beer. Slice and Sip by the Pizza Gang at Dom DeMarco's.
Slice and Sip by the Pizza Gang at Dom DeMarco's, coming out the first Wednesday of every month starting in February. And we're going to kick it off with a little Super Bowl show. I'll give you a little bit of a preview there. But you got to be excited. You're going to have your own show. And originally we'll get this just audio, but we're going to transition to video in a few months.
Yes, and we got a lot of merch ordered. Slice and Sip T-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodie shirts and jackets and whatever you could think of. You'll see all the staff. Some of the staff are wearing them now.
You'll have to listen to that show to find out how do you get your hands on the merch.
But I have something else that I may as well tell you now.
What do you got?
Last week, I was on a FaceTime call with Mark Wahlberg.
For his tequila.
Yes, for his fantastic tequila. Fletcher Azul Tequila, Blanco, Raspado, Anillo. In fact, we have it on special here. We've had it on for the last couple of months. And this is crazy. I hope you're sitting down. $7. You call it anything you want with Mark Wahlberg's tequila. $7. Anyway, he said to me, I'm very busy, got a couple movies going, but I will be at your place before the Super Bowl, sometime between now and the Super Bowl, and I'll give you a day or two notice. So when I do get that notice, you'll hear it.
You heard that first. Mark Wahlberg will be tending bar at Dom DeMarco's. You heard it first here. We're breaking all kinds of news here.
I love it.
We got some other stuff that we'll talk about on your show when we get into that. But for this show, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on and telling your story about how you came up with this place. It's a beautiful place. The food is great. I love the wine list. You know I'm a fan of the place.
You are, and I appreciate. You have excellent taste, by the way. And I'm so happy you brought your mom. I've heard so much about her. I'd love to meet her. She also has excellent taste.
Yes. Sitting here with my mother as well. She's sitting to the right of us as we're recording this. In the middle of January on your patio, as you said, and it feels like it's in the middle of summer.
It's great, isn't it?
It's fantastic. People, you have to get here. 9785 West Charleston. Dom DeMarco's Pizza. Go to domdemarcos.com. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. And before we go, instead of a cup of coffee, because I don't drink coffee, but I do drink red wine, you can buy me a glass of wine. How you're going to do that is you're going to go to the show notes, and I'm going to put a link where you can click on it, buy me a glass. I'll give you a cheers on the show, and we'll go forward. What do you have? You got something with wine?
Well, I ordered that wine that you liked.
Pure Paso by J-Lore is a great red blend wine.
See if we have it. I hope it came in, and that's what you'll be drinking.
I'm looking forward to it. But that's going to do it for this episode of Before the Lights. I'm Tommy Canale. And until next time, everybody, I salute a chin chin.